A group of Australian school students are calling on governments to urgently address the public health fallout after 2 years of pandemic lockdowns. The study, published in the highly regarded Lancet Journal, was done through the University of Sydney. Now, they found social media, declining mental health and the absence of junk food regulation as some of the most serious risks to teenagers.
The group even came up with a two-tiered approach to help solve the problem. The first focuses on creating awareness of social media use and addressing social media literacy. And the second builds on the acquired awareness and literacy with concrete guidance for implementation.
The students aged between 13 and 18 years are among the first and the youngest to have their work published in the journal.
And Mira, Dominic, Radhika, Dominique, Amelia and Avi join us now. Good morning to you all. Congratulations on the research, first of all. It's fantastic. Now, Mira, you and Dominic and Radhika are co-chairs of this group. The impact of lockdowns on teenagers, we keep sort of hearing it in the news. Why were you so passionate about this project?
Well, personally, for me, it all started last year when I met up with Stephanie Partridge from University of Sydney to talk about her work with adolescent health, and I personally felt really connected because of my own passions as a young adult, but also in terms of my passion for health science and medicine. And I found that the mission of the council was something that I felt really connected to because of the fact that it was not only focused on building the skills of young people, but it also allowed them to contribute to real life impactful research that otherwise it's very hard for us as young adults to do things like this that has real impact in the world. So I found that to be very amazing and once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, I'm sure it has been. Dominic, I'm told you love your sport, you're a pretty competitive person.
Yes.
What did you find about the decline in physical activity? I found this with my sons. It was so difficult to get them going when all of that structure around school and extracurricular activities was lost. About physical activity, lack of it, and also regulation around junk food. What did you find?
Well, the thing is, physical activity is one of the leading causes of preventable chronic diseases. And so, obviously, the WHO says that we need at least 60 minutes of daily exercise to maintain bone health, physical health, but also mental health. And so, it's kind of concerning when an Australian study recently said that 73% of children in Australia weren't getting those 60 minutes during lockdown. And obviously with chronic disease,
didn't it?
Exactly, totally, because everyone was on laptops and computers and inside mainly. So with chronic diseases, that's quite worrying because they appear later in life then. And then with junk food, the advertising on social media platforms is becoming very targeted, and using that personal data is quite insidious. And so with social media, it's very susceptible because when those ads are run, it looks like it's endorsed by the people in that community, and so unhealthy food ads are actually run 50 times higher than healthy food ads. And so the young people are obviously going to that unhealthy food much quicker than to healthy food.
Yeah, it's like that old adage that a lie spreads so much faster than the truth on the internet. Radhika, what are the biggest issues that you found when it comes to social media and influencers?
I think we can all agree that since the pandemic, we're living in a world that's run by social media, especially with the increased use in devices and mobile phones. We're on Zoom meetings every other day, basically. And so what's been happening is that there's this plethora of negative and often misleading information on social media that is so easily accessible to young viewers. And on the other hand, the actual educative and informed factual information is not. And that creates this subculture identity on social media that isn't actually addressing the individual experiences of young individuals. And that's harmful to their mental health, physical well-being, as well as self-esteem and body image.
Dominic, what about mental health? That was another big finding out of the study. What did you find there?
So we found that mental health was greatly impacted by COVID-19, and in fact we actually experienced a shadow pandemic. So now in the recovery, it highlights that it's imperative to really address the negative mental health that has been caused by the lack of social connectedness and the fact that social development was greatly hindered. So we really need public health systems to address this and to make public health systems more accessible for young people to ensure that mental health can recover to how it was before the pandemic, but actually for young people to experience better mental health and better health outcomes.
Quick follow-up to that question. Sorry, Nat. Do you think that shadow pandemic, it's an interesting way to put it, is still happening?
Yes,
There's
definitely.
a lag after, yeah.
Yeah, we're still continuing to experience the ramifications of that shadow pandemic. And in fact, people returning to school are struggling with returning to that situation, and even they feel that they're not prepared to come into contact with some of the anxiety that school does provoke.
Amelia, we just talked to the School Principals Association the other day, saying kids are coming back to school. They almost don't know how to behave. There's so many, kids playing up in the classroom because they've had 2 years basically out of the classroom and not in groups of kids. Do you think young people have been saying this for a while and adults are finally catching on that this is a real problem you've been suffering?
Yeah, I do feel that because young people, to develop, they need to be more socially out there and they need to learn their people skills, and there's other skills they need to have before they can go out into the real world. And I feel that the COVID-19 pandemic has really stopped them from learning the areas they really need to excel in. And so I feel like we could do more to help them kind of get into the mental state and the physical state to actually be able to go out there and reach their full potential.
Avi, all of this amazing work and everything that you've all found and you've been talking about, as we mentioned at the beginning, has been published in The Lancet, which gives you an incredible amount of substance as well. That must be a point of pride, but also give you some weight behind what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think it's really like empowering and like almost it's an empowering experience to have your work published in something like The Lancet, because we see that a lot of like policies and like rules and systems that are developed that affect young people, a lot of this research comes from like these like journals and scientific papers. So having our voices there, and it's really having our voices amplified there, it's really empowering that we finally get to have our say in like what these rules and systems are made, and like how. And it's more relevant to young people as this is our voice, so we know what...
Do you know what I think it does too? It also actually helps us. It gives everyone else outside of your group that you're talking about something really substantial to hold on to and go, look, everything we've been sort of experiencing in our homes and social groups and, friends and family, it's a real thing.
Exactly. Dominic, how do we move on from this? The problems are identified, but how do we go forward? How do we solve some of this?
Well, I think the most important thing is to include young people more. So nowadays, I think less than 1% of public studies that include young people actually have the opinions of young people in them. And so I think that active participation and the collaboration with people who have that lived experience, when you're asking the opinions of young people, they give you the real life experiences that they've actually had and their opinions on it. That's something that you can't create by just placing yourself in their shoes. So I think that sort of interaction with young people and collaboration, but also that two-tiered system that we've developed with increased social media awareness, and then obviously the resources that we need to make available for all of the young people.
Well, you guys are so impressive. Congratulations. There's an election going on, just in case you hadn't heard, and our Polly should be listening to more kids like you.
Spot on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Terrific.